Again, and welcome to our new home. As you can see, we're right here on historic Pennsylvania Avenue. Capitol's just behind us there. A lot of thunderstorms out there as well this morning, but we are thrilled to be here and to welcome our first guest, Senator John McCain. Welcome, Senator.
Thank you. I understand in HD for the first time.
In HD, we've all got our makeup on.
Maybe that's not so good for me.
You're looking great. Let's begin with the headlines this morning. Washington Post this morning, huge front page story. John McCain, a question of temperament. They talked to a lot of your former colleagues and associates about your temper. Many say it's not a problem anymore. Others say you've got it under control. But look at what a former colleague of yours, Senator Bob Smith of New Hampshire, said. He said John McCain's temper would place this country at risk in international affairs and the world perhaps in danger. In my mind, it should disqualify him. A Republican, you served with him.
Yeah, I served with him and had significant differences on several issues. But the point is, look, majority of those stories, 15, 20, 25 years ago, the point is that I feel passionately about issues. I work across the aisle. I've been successful in getting legislation done. But the important thing is that do I get angry from time to time when I'm investigating Mr. Abramoff and find out they ripped off Indian tribes, when I see bridges to nowhere? And you know what? The American people are angry too. They want change. They want action. And they're fed up and they're angry with the way things have been going.
But you conceded in your own memoir in 2002 that your temper had been a problem. How can you assure voters that it's under control?
Again, look at my record, look at my conduct on the campaign, look at look, I am very happy to be a passionate man. I love this country. I love what we stand for and believe in, and many times I deal passionately when I find things that are not in the best interest of the American people. And so, look, 20, 25 years ago, 15 years ago, that's fine. And those stories are either totally untrue or grossly exaggerated. One thing I've learned over time is that stories get better and better over time.
A lot of Americans angry right now about the economy.
Sure.
And on Friday, you conceded that Americans are not better off than they were 8 years ago. But the Democrats are launching an ad campaign this week where they're going to try to pin some comments you made during the primaries on you. Take a look.
I think you could argue that Americans overall are better off because we have had a pretty good, prosperous time with low unemployment, low inflation. A lot of good things have happened. A lot of jobs have been created. I think we are better off overall.
Do you feel better off?
The theme is going to be, and you know it, you're out of touch, you just don't get it. How do you respond?
Well, I have an economic plan. It's good. It's strong. Things have gotten worse in the last several months, as we all know, in our economy. Americans are struggling. American families are sitting around the kitchen table today trying to figure out how they're going to keep their home, keep their job. Times are very, very tough. And the worst thing you can do is raise taxes. Both Senator Clinton and Senator Obama want to raise taxes. That's out of touch. That's out of touch. Senator Obama says that he doesn't want to raise taxes on anybody making over $200,000 a year, yet he wants to nearly double the capital gains tax, nearly double it, which 100 million Americans have investment in, mutual funds, 401ks, policemen, firemen, nurses. He wants to increase their taxes. And he obviously doesn't understand the economy because history shows every time you have cut capital gains taxes, revenues have increased, going back to Jack Kennedy. So out of touch? Yes, they are out of touch when they want to raise taxes at the worst possible time when we're in a recession. We're going to cut taxes. We're going to reduce spending. We're going to put a freeze on discretionary spending. We're going to make wealthy people pay for their own prescription drugs. We're going to scrub every institution of government and put them out of business.
You know, you just mentioned your plan to have wealthy people means test, increase their Medicare premiums. That's going to hit people, individuals earning about $84,000 a year.
$160,000.
That's for couples for $160,000. How is that different? That premium increase different from a tax increase?
All it does is say that people are going to pay just as they do in the other parts of Medicare that can afford to pay.
But it is an increase. Should we be
paying? It's going to be an increase in their payments. Sure. Why shouldn't we? Would they pay? Why should we be paying for Warren Buffett or Bill Gates or wealthy Americans that were retired making $160,000 a couple not pay for their own prescription
your
drugs.
plan will also
when
have
we've got $1 trillion unfunded liability associated with the Medicare prescription drug bill. $1 trillion that we're laying on the next generation of Americans. We don't want to do that.
Your tax plan will also have a lot of benefits
Sure.
for wealthy Americans. You have about $300 billion by your own count of tax cuts a year in your plan. Some say it could be double that, some budget experts. But even by your own accounting, $300 billion a year, that means your previous promise to balance the budget in your first term, that's gone.
No, of course not. Look, I'll find you $100 billion tomorrow.
Wait,
I'll find
you can
$100
balance the
billion
budget in your
tomorrow.
first term?
We will make long progress towards it. Now, if economic conditions continue to deteriorate, it's going to be harder. But we're going to be on a path to a balanced budget. Look,
But we're not going to have a balanced budget before you leave office in your first term.
Well, that still should be a goal. But the goal right now is get the economy going again. Here's $100 billion right here for you, George. 2 years in a row, last 2 years, the President of the United States has signed into law 2 big spending, pork barrel laden bills worth $35 billion. That increases the budget, the baseline of the budget. In years before that, $65 billion. You do away with those. There's $100 billion right there before you look at any agency of government.
Let's talk about that then,
Sure.
because you have $300 billion a year in tax cuts by your count, $200 billion a year in spending restraints by your own count. So I think it's hard to say how you're going to get a balanced budget in 4 years. But first, let me just follow up on that. You talk about your earmark.
But could I just finish my thought? You scrub every agency of government. Is there any American that doesn't believe that there's tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars that can be saved? I saved the taxpayer $6 billion all by myself on a with a little help from my friends, in the $6 billion on a bogus Air Force tanker
let's
deal.
talk about that, though.
There's hundreds of billions that can be saved, and Americans know that.
Yet you
That's
only
why they're
claim
fed up.
$60 billion a year from your earmark reforms. Every
I
other
claim $100 billion when you look at $35 billion in the last 2 years and $65 billion in the previous years before that.
But sir, let me finish the point. Every other estimate I've seen says that the earmarks are about $18 or $20 billion a year. To get to the 60 you're talking about, that includes an earmark that, like the aid to Israel, $2 billion a year, $1 billion a year for military housing. You're not going to cut those.
I'm going to cut at least that. Look,
are you cutting aid to Israel?
Of course not. I'm not cutting.
Are you cutting military housing?
No, of course not. I am cutting billions and billions out of defense spending, which are not earmarks. The $400 million ship that they had to scrap that was supposed to cost $140 billion. The $30 billion, I believe it is, add-on for a system in the Army that's gone up $30 billion, and we still haven't got any result from it. The $50 million contract to some buddy of Air Force generals. I mean, there's so many billions out there just in defense procurement.
To hit your number, you say $160 billion in discretionary spending. The entire non-defense discretionary budget is $500 billion a year. That means you're talking about a 30% cut in every program. Education, veterans benefits.
I'm talking about looking at every institution
and you're
of government
prepared to cut 30%?
I'm talking about changing the way we do business in Washington.
But are you prepared to cut 30%?
I am prepared to cut hundreds of billions of dollars out of wasteful and unnecessary spending in America, whether they be ethanol subsidies,